Now, a pretty shocking Horikoshi statement hinting at the conclusion of the story was released over the weekend. In a video last week discussing Deku's recent rapid progress, we stated that the story might be at least its halfway point. However, even with that in mind, this statement was still quite a shocker. In the statement at Jump Festa, Horikoshi first thanked us the fans for continued support of the series, then mentioned all there is to be excited for in the next year, referring to season 5 of the anime, the third movie, an art exhibition, and more. Then when on the topic of the manga, Horikoshi stated that he'll do his best to make the manga exciting as well, but then came the shocker. He would then add that the manga will probably reach its conclusion soon. Now, it's pretty much impossible to discuss the end of the series without diving into the recent manga developments, so if manga spoilers aren't for you, proceed with caution. With that said, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to Plot Armor with notifications on to never miss an upload. I hope you enjoyed the video. Now, let's get into this big news. The war arc is now wrapping up. We've had so much revealed during it, the highly anticipated Todoroki family reunion, dare I say the true intentions of All for One, and of course Float, and the fourth one for all predecessors quirk, Danger Sense. Almost every chapter at a certain point something big was being revealed, except the seemingly non-existent UA Trader, but anyway. The arc pulled out all the stops, and it's safe to say going from here things will never be the same. It's fair to assume both sides will need some time to recover from the battle, and later on they'll meet again for the true final battle. A Prison Break arc is really the only arc that I believe we all expect at some point, in addition to any potential smaller UA student arcs, like for example the sports festival and various training arcs, internships, and whatever else. And those things aren't exactly a guarantee. They're likely, yes, but we don't know for certain that school life after the war will return to what it used to be. I believe something light will follow the dark and gloomy war, but this isn't exactly promised. And on the topic of school events, would we really want to see something like the sports festival again with how powerful Deku has become? Of course, we would enjoy seeing all the other classmates match up, but at this point, to expect anyone to beat Deku is insane. He surpassed all his classmates in power now several times over, so any sort of match should be realistically pretty predictable. Last year, at the beginning of the war arc, Horikoshi said in a statement that the story is reaching its climax. A climax is the height of a story, and after that you then work towards the end conclusion. And the conclusion is something Horikoshi has always had in mind while drawing the story. He's never gotten distracted from it. In 2018, during the high-end encounter, Horikoshi said that the story was at that point past its midway. And that might sound shocking to you all, but for me, it makes sense. My Hero Academia in my eyes was never going to be a very long series. The way it was written from the beginning made it clear that there was an end conclusion in mind, and it wasn't out of reach. It never felt very far away. Horikoshi in his latest statements did say that he wants to draw a story about stepping forward, standing firm, and standing up again when things are rough. My Hero Academia does embody all these principles, and it is the story of how Deku becomes the greatest hero, but it's also very much just the story of One for All and All for One. All for One was thrown into the story from the beginning, and has always been the end goal. Once that's over with, anything past it can't compare. I don't know who hasn't watched or read Death Note by now, but I'll avoid spoilers and just say, think about the second half of the story compared to the first half. If you're familiar with the story, you'd most likely agree the second half can't compare. And this is what I mean when I'm saying My Hero Academia was not made to be a very long series. Compare My Hero Academia to long-lasting series like Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball is just about Goku handling enemies that come his way. Frieza is an iconic enemy, but the story doesn't need him, and in the end we just want to see the Z Fighters destroy whatever comes their way. This applies to Western superheroes as well. Spider-Man and Batman all have iconic enemies, but the story is all about the hero. Anything else is just there to make the hero look good. Basically, those stories are all structured very differently from how My Hero Academia is, and this is why I've never believed it to be a very long-lasting sort of story. If we look past All for One, what enemy can compare to the most notorious villain in history, one that has reigned since the beginning? What quirk can compare to the man with the ability to have many, even using them simultaneously? None. And believe me, I don't say these things because I wish for My Hero Academia to be a short story. I would love for it to go on much longer, but it wasn't built to be that way. All for One could have still been the final enemy, but he was thrown into the story from the start, and they've now been in battle several times. And to be clear, when I say All for One, I'm referring to both the man himself and the quirk considering Shigaraki now possesses it. Deku Beyond All for One would just essentially be a god with many quirks running around beating on comparatively mediocre villains. We don't know what'll happen at the end of the battle. It is of course possible that, for example, the spirits inside of One for All then rest and leave Deku with only the incredible strength of One for All. But would that be enjoyable to watch? Imagine if any other main character lost the majority of their incredible power. It would be a huge downgrade and fall off entertainment wise. I can't imagine going from watching the distinct Super Saiyan God to watching Kaioken again, but hey, maybe that's just me, maybe I'm crazy. So with all that said, there is no way for the story to continue, at least not at the same quality it has been up to this point. I'd always hoped to see our characters as pro heroes, but at this point I really don't see that happening. We all know about the 10-year movie plan, so in a way we will have more My Hero Academia for some time, but who knows for sure what that'll be like. We'll have to wait and see how the story ends to better take a stab at predicting that. We're now near the release of volume 29, and originally Horikoshi intended to make the story 30 volumes. He of course later calculated his plans and realized this was just impossible, but it's crazy to think, had his plans been possible, we'd be at the very end of the story right now. We see roughly 3 to 4 volumes on average every year released. Horikoshi years ago also said in an interview that he can't imagine taking the series to 50 volumes. With that in mind, the recent comment, and everything else, I can't imagine the story going long past 2021. If I had to take a guess, I would say the manga ends mid or late 2022, which honestly saddens me. If you had to guess based on everything, when do you think the story will end? Leave a comment on that below, we'd love to hear your thoughts. It is important to note though that the manga is a good distance ahead of the anime. We probably have at least 2 seasons left, but most likely 3 to 4, which is at least something to be happy about. I've seen some fans mention the story potentially going overseas, however I don't believe this is realistic and worth giving much thought to. At the end of the day, this is a Japanese comic, and almost every manga, especially the mainstream ones, take place in Japan or in some other world. I won't say it's impossible because, well, anything is possible, but it's not likely. The manga is most relatable to its core audience when it's in the setting they're familiar with, and the author is best able to draw it when it's in the setting they understand very well. It would be cool, but guys, I don't think it's realistic. I'd also like to say manga cut time estimates aren't to be taken too seriously, which is why I estimated my guess to be mid or late 2022. It's not rare to hear something about a manga being near its conclusion or get an estimated % conclusion that ends up not so accurate. So while I do believe and see that an end is near, it could take a while. For example, the UA Sports Festival went over 2 times longer than Horikoshi expected. Things happen and it can take longer than expected to tell the story the author intends. With that said, that's all we have for you guys on this topic. I hope you enjoyed the video. In the comments, be sure to leave your thoughts on everything. How do you feel about where the story is headed next, and what are your thoughts on the story reaching its conclusion soon? If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to Plot Armor with notifications on to never miss an upload, and if you'd like to further support the channel, check out our Patreon link in the description below. Until next time, keep that plot armor on you. I'm KJ, have a great day, goodbye.